Kevin O'Leary here. I'm going to watch a video called 50K a year, living on 50K a year in Brooklyn, New York. I personally think that's impossible. Unless you're living in the park, turning over rocks, eating grubs for protein, that is not a number you can live on in Brooklyn. So I'm really interested to see what Make It found out. So let's roll this thing and see what the story is. 50K a year, come on. It's not even possible.
New York City is pretty expensive, but I think if you know where your money's going and you recognize what your priorities are, it's totally doable.
That's before tax. So she's not really making $50,000 a year. She's probably making about $40,000 a year, real cash dollars. So she's living off a lot less than 50.
I feel like I've had a lot of different influences about money, negotiating, 401k, investments.
Not bad. She's got savings in here. I'm looking at a pie chart. Elena's typical monthly spend, $28.94. Food, $340, transportation, $145. Debt repayment, $130. See how much that is? That's a chunk. And then miscellaneous, $420. Ooh. Okay. All right. But the savings, $880. I like that. I like that. I want to see if she's investing it in the long term, because that's what you're going to need to end up with over $1 million by the time you're 65, because you got to get market returns. They're sort of like 6 to 8% a year over a long period of time. That's what they've done. Market goes up and down, but if you can get those market returns, it's good, but you got to invest.
I like to divvy up things depending on percentage. So immediately after my paycheck comes into my bank, which I use Ally, it just goes into the savings depending on how much I want. I tailor my lifestyle towards not having that money because I'm just used to it.
Okay, the kid's smart. I'll tell you why. If you actually have targets, in other words, you're putting percentage spends and you can watch it on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks, because you're probably getting paid every 2 weeks, that's real smart. Because the way you go offside and end up with massive credit card debt is that you don't stay within those guidelines. So she's got a pie chart and she's saving, you know, for emergencies, classes, gift donations, and travel. That's very smart. The one thing I don't see here, which is incredibly important if you're 23 years old, is you got to put $100 aside every week for the long term. In other words, you're investing in your retirement. Minimum $100 a week. So we'll see if she's got anything like that in here.
I graduated from Ithaca College.
Ouch, she starts with $16,000 in student loans, which reminds me, if you're going to burden yourself with a loan that you got to pay back at probably 5 or 6% interest, because that's sort of the going rate on student loans, which is a huge interest rate these days, when the 30-year bond is yielding less than 2%, that's very, very expensive. You want to make sure you're investing it in in an education you can get paid back on. Like, go to college for something you know you can get a job in. And I've said this countless times. There are 3 good categories to focus on: engineering, engineering, and engineering. Try one of those. And for a 4th choice, go with engineering.
I had a lot of part-time jobs throughout school. I'm really fortunate that I didn't have a lot of student loans. I had a lot of scholarships, and my family helped a lot through college.
Very smart to do part-time during school. That reduces the debt. Very smart. It lets you actually have some cash flow. I did that too. I actually was a waiter, and I worked at night, and I worked in the record store, whatever I could do in college to keep my loan down or even pay off some of it while I was there. I'm starting to think Elena's got her poop together, so to speak.
I think it's really important to get a jump on it if you can. I still want to budget for it and get them paid off in the next 5 years.
Okay, paying it off and having a plan is very smart, because I'll tell you, while you have that loan, you're paying interest. That's an expense that's brutal. So she's got a plan to pay it off in 5 years. Very good, I like that.
I feel like dating as a young person is pricey. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, it's a little helpful that I am a lady. So usually if I go on some first dates, I don't usually have to pay. I'm happy to, I honestly am. Like, sometimes I pay tip.
Smart. First date, you don't have to pay? Yeah, okay. But eventually you don't want to become in debt to that guy unless you think there's something there. So I've got the 3-date rule on that thing. You can go up to 3 dates and let him pay every time, or let the other significant pay. But once you're past 3, I mean, the only reason you go out a fourth time is you're trying to light the flame, and then you got to become a participant in the cost. You're gonna kind of go 50-50. I don't think it's cool that no matter who you're dating, that you let them pay for everything on the 3-date rule. So you can let them invest in you for 3 days, but fourth, you got to pony up. Just saying.
I also am on a bunch of email lists and newsletters that give you free events. How long have you lived here?
Almost 5 years.
Oh, okay, nice. Like, I'm actually friends with my neighbors. Like, I'll tell my friends, like, oh yeah, like I baked a cake with my neighbor, or, I went over to their house, and they're like, do you know who your neighbors are?
I'm starting to like this gal. I'll tell you why. She's thinking about all the things she can do that she doesn't have to spend money on. She's staying hip to what's happening in her local neighborhood. She's talking to neighbors. She's on social. She's seeing what events that are around her are free. Very smart. In New York, you have to do that. New York is so friggin' expensive. Of course, the city wants to suck every dime they can get out of you, but at the same time, people are hip too, and they're doing their own things.
So like with my hair, I honestly cut it myself, or like my mom does it. And that's just because I have pretty simple hair. Like, I don't need anything super wacky.
She cuts her own hair, so do I. You gotta save, I have a little less to cut, so it takes me less time. That is really smart. Beauty, is everybody wants to look as good as they can. In some ways, it's important that you do that. But if you can minimize the cost, that's really smart. And hair is really expensive. She's young, she's 23, so she doesn't have to dye her hair. That's coming later, very expensive. Okay, this is the part I'm really interested in. What is the retirement plan? She has one, so let's hear what she's doing.
So I have the 5% and then my company matches it.
Okay, she has an IRA, the company matches it. You must take advantage of that. If you have a company that's giving you $1 for $1, you have to do that. That is like free money coming out of a helicopter to you, and you have to do it. That's one of the benefits of being employed, particularly if the employer wants to help you build your nest egg. That's really smart and very, very important.
If I get a pay increase, I definitely want to up that. For the company to put in money, like that's free money. Like I don't know why you wouldn't max that out if you have the financial means to. So that's really important to me.
She's got $2,000 in Robinhood. That's great. I prefer Beanstocks. That's the financial literacy platform that Mr. Wonderful's investing in. I'm really big on this whole thing. We teach everybody everything in high school, but we don't teach them about investing. And of course, they end up in debt when they get out of college. Not Elena. She has been way ahead of this game and now has $2,000 put away. I like that a lot.
I do freelance photography on the side, mostly headshots and portraits.
Whoa, I like that. I'm a photographer too. I think that's really great. And also, one thing I was going to say about your life is if you're really interested in pursuing a career, whatever it is that you found that you're passionate about, that's good. But business is binary. You either make money or you lose it. In a career, you're always trying to help the company you're working with move forward. But it's great to have a passion in the arts, which is chaotic, but it really helps you be a balanced person. She's into photography. I'm looking at some of her shots. Pretty good.
I think it'd be nice to make over 100,000, and I definitely want to hit that by 30. I know it sounds kind of ambitious.
Very, very good to have a goal in terms of what you want to have as an income. $100,000 a year in Brooklyn is a good number. It means basically you're keeping about $75,000 or significantly more than she's got now. Let's say after tax she's only got $40,000 free cash flow. If she got to $100,000, she'd have $75,000. She could maybe even buy a condo at that point and put it towards something where she's building equity. Having that goal means on a regular interval you're asking your boss for a raise. You don't get one unless you ask, by the way. You never get one unless you ask. I've been doing this a long time. People ask me for a raise, it's because they feel they deserve it. She feels she deserves it. Very smart.
I think if I make the right career jumps and I stick with my side hustles, it's definitely doable. I would want to donate some of it. I'd want to use some of it like to travel or to buy more camera equipment. And then a lot of it I would just want to put to the side. All the small things that it's easy to be frugal with, it would be nice to have that little perk later. But I think in general, my budget will still be pretty similar, even if I get a pay raise.
Okay, here's what I think. She's still got a bunch of money on that student loan she's got to get rid of. That should be the primary focus. It's better to pay off the debt before you put a significant amount of money into investment, because investments can go up and down in value. As we all know, the stock market has volatility. But if you still have debt, that's forever. And that debt is for certain going to charge you interest. So in a way, when you pay down your student loan, you are investing in yourself. You're getting rid of it. You get that burden, that shackle off your back. What I see here is she could probably get rid of that debt in about 36 months if she just focused all of the energy she's got into little things towards that debt. And she'd save a fortune long term because 6 or 7% interest, that's nasty. Now, it's not as bad as credit card debt at 21, but it's still a lot. You know what I'm going to give Elena on a 1 to 10? I was impressed. I was very skeptical at the beginning, but I'm going to give her an 8.2, and for me, that's a huge score. I'm not kidding. She's doing a lot right. The only reason she's not getting a 10 out of 10 is she's not paying off her student loan fast enough. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to CNBC Make It. And while you're at it, download Beanstalks. Check it out. That's how you save for your retirement, BEANSTOX.